Author's note. This video is my review of Dracula 1931, based on Dracula by Bram Stoker, Hamilton Dean, and John L. Baderston, directed by Todd Browning and Carl Frun, published by Universal Pictures, starring David Manners, Helen Chandler, Dwight Fry, Edward Van Sloan, Herbert Bunston, Francis Dade, Joan Standing, Charles de Gerard, and Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula. Rated TV-PG.
Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make.
In 1931, Universal Pictures brought Bram Stoker's Dracula to life on the silver screen. The massive success of this film made the Count the most iconic movie monster of all time, in a variety of sequels, spin-offs, and pop culture references, especially in the Castlevania video game series. A mysterious man named Count Dracula travels to London with a companion named Renfield. But what the people of London don't know is that Dracula is really an undead vampire, sucking the blood out of innocent victims and turning them into vampires.
The blood is the life, Mr. Renfield.
Much like the Frankenstein movie I reviewed 2 years ago, the lack of color and the darker values of the film fit the overall tone, creating the very same ghastly feeling that I got from Frankenstein. But like with Frankenstein, I did have a problem with the brighter tones as opposed to the darker tones. Furthermore, some of the camera work did look a tad bit confusing at times, and not to mention that some of the effects did look a bit cheesy, like the use of the bats. Other times, it did work and flowed well, but that's how it all worked in 1931, and this is long before CGI existed.
To die, to be really dead, that must be glorious.
Obviously, Dracula was the center attraction of the movie, and it was Bela Lugosi who made this monster iconic. Underneath the charm and charisma that feels warm and welcoming is a devilish ghoul that feasts upon the blood of the innocent. But it's his allure that makes him a convincing villain, allowing him to manipulate his victims to play into his hands. This is in contrast to the latter variations of Dracula, especially his more tragic counterparts in Castlevania.
Oh, but really, Father, I'm feeling quite well.
On the flip side, there are two characters that I felt really sorry for. The first being Renfield, who went from an ordinary businessman to a stark mad lunatic, becoming more and more psychotic as the story went on, all just to please Count Dracula. Even how it ended for him was completely tragic. The second was Mina Seward, daughter of Dr. Seward. Once Dracula got her under his control, the poor girl also fell a bit down the same path that affected Renfield, acting as if she was being tormented, and yet some people want to ship her with Dracula. The things you learn every night.
I prefer to remain and protect those whom you would destroy.
The one character who really stood out was Professor Van Helsing. While many members of the cast had no idea of Dracula's true intentions, Van Helsing was fully aware of the existence of vampires, having done his research on the undead phenomenon. He also came fully prepared for his confrontation with Count Dracula, from wolfsbane to a cross, and even a makeshift wooden stake. But it was his direct showdown with the Count that showcases why he's not to be trifled with. Why we didn't have a Castlevania game with a Van Helsing hero is a total disgrace.
This is very old wine.
Sure, it's not as frightening as it used to be, but the charm of Dracula is seen if the Count does succeed or if Van Helsing prevails in his mission. And despite some of its issues, it's still a chilling film that gave American filmgoers the concept of the vampire. I recommend you at least give this version of Dracula a try. After all, it isn't a miserable little pile of secrets.